Having never lost to a player outside the top 100 in a Grand Slam event, this should have been a relatively straightforward day at the office for the number 2 seed Novak Djokovic. But despite his opponent, world number 158 Bernard Tomic, having to qualify to make it into the tournament, he'd already seen off the likes of Nikolai Davydenko and Robin Soderling on his way to the final 8. What chance? Another scalp here. The signs didn't look good early on. The 18-year-old opted to serve, and having saved 3 break points, he was quickly faced with a 4th. There was no fault in this of Tomic, who was bidding to become the youngest men's player since Boris Becker to reach the Wimbledon semi-final. But Djokovic is in the form of his life and started to find range with ease. Breaking the Aussie again, the serve charged to a 5-2 lead before serving out for the first set. The second, though, threw up a major twist as Tomic started to relax and began playing with confidence. The young qualifier grabbed the early break, performing through in tremendous fashion to take the set 6-3. The 2001 champion Goran Ivanisevic was enjoying what he was seeing, and the 18-year-old looked to have the upper hand. But the serve is on a 10-match winning streak against Aussie opposition, and despite his opponent breaking him early on, he hit back to close out the third set. But breaking again late on in the fourth. The relief on Djokovic's face was all too clear to see, and at 6-5 and 40 up, he found himself serving for the match. A remarkable effort from the Australian, who's left no one in doubt that he's got a future. Djokovic will now face Frenchman Jo-Wilfried Tsonga for a place in this year's Wimbledon.
As the centre court crowd continued to digest Roger Federer's shock defeat from 2 sets up, so Andy Murray prepared for all eventualities against Feliciano López. Playing in his 4th successive Wimbledon quarter-final, the British number 1, who'd beaten López on 4 previous occasions, made a confident start, and after knocking on the door, broke through courtesy of a fine return. Philippa Middleton approved. Playing steady if not spectacular tennis, Murray maintained his advantage to take the set 6-3. On the back of an 8-match winning streak, it was just what he and the bulk of the crowd had been hoping for. And it was to get better from a British perspective. López, perhaps a little weary after his 5-set epic with Lucas Kubot in the 4th round, dropped serve again as Murray lit up an already bright day with some inventive tactics. Looking totally at ease, the world number 4 served for a 2-set lead at 5-4. Another error from the misfiring Spaniard. As his fans clung to the hope that he could overcome such a deficit for the 2nd time in 48 hours, the trainer was called. Murray then felt a stab of pain in the groin area early in the 3rd to cause a spot of alarm. It didn't halt his progress though, and minutes later he broke again with some more exquisite tennis. His mother Judy has a soft spot for him, but there was no disguising her delight. And though the Spaniard had a couple of break-back points, she didn't have to wait long to celebrate another win for her son. Smooth progress. There will be inevitable concern about the discomfort Murray was clearly feeling towards the end. It goes without saying that he'll have to be at his very best against Rafael Nadal on Friday. Sunshine, much anticipation, and a Swiss-French clash to start things off on centre, where 2 golfing greats, Jack Nicklaus and Greg Norman, had a bird's-eye view. Roger Federer was bidding to reach his 29th Grand Slam semi, Jo-Wilfried Tsonga his 1st at Wimbledon and 3rd overall. The Frenchman had managed only 1 win in 5 previous meetings and looked nervous early on. That tension cost him an immediate break of serve. Federer survived a couple of break-back points at 3-1 before taking the set with a minimum of fuss. There were clear signs that Tsonga, ranked 19 in the world, was coming to life in the 2nd set. The crowd were loving it as he hurled himself around the court. A tie-break was needed and Federer seized control. It went his way by 7 points to 3 and left Tsonga with a mountain to climb. He gained a foothold by finally breaking the Federer serve early in the third before closing it out with his fourth set. Game on again. And when the enigmatic Frenchman then broke in style at 1-1 in the fourth, the match had a very different look to it. Tsonga went on to win the set 6-4, and Federer was suddenly in grave danger of losing from 2 sets in a major for the very first time. That looked even more likely when this year's Queen's finalist struck first at the start of the fifth. Federer simply couldn't turn things around against an inspired opponent, and after 3 minutes faced match point. So the 6-time champion goes out at the quarter-final stage for the second year running. Tsonga's dream of becoming only the 5th Frenchman to reach the final is still very much alive. Novak Djokovic awaits him on Friday.
After suffering an injury scare on his foot in the last round against Juan Martín del Potro, Rafael Nadal returned to action fighting fit and looking to extend his winning streak on the grass of Wimbledon to 19 matches. His opponent, American Mardy Fish, was in peak fitness himself, but has a poor record against the world number 1. Played 5, lost 5. Could he change that stat here? Nadal had dropped just 1 set in his first 4 matches, and all the early signs suggested that wouldn't change here, reeling in Fish to take a double break before charging into a 5-3 lead. The American's unforced error tally was starting to grow, and he inevitably lost the game, already with it all to do. Rafa, whose last defeat at Wimbledon came against Roger Federer in 2007, had the number 10 seed chasing down every point, and if the crowd weren't breathless, Fish almost certainly was. Another break for the world number 1 followed, and his opponent now had it all to do. When Nadal gets his nose in front, it's difficult to hook him back in, and at 5-3 in the second, he was serving to go 2 sets in front. Fish had only ever come back from a similar scoreline once before, so he knew he'd have to be on his A-game in the third. And luckily for him, he was. And at 6-5 up and 30-40 with Nadal serving, it was sink or swim time for the American. But the Spaniard's bidding to become just the 2nd man in the Open era to win the Roland Garros Wimbledon double on 3 occasions. And early in the 4th, he took a huge step to achieving that dream. A vital break put him back in the driving seat, and from there, the American was fighting a losing battle. Nadal wrapped it up 6-3, 6-5, 7, 6-4, and now faces his biggest test to date, a crunch match with the fans' favourite Andy Murray for a place in the Wimbledon final.